Welcome to Streams of Income, hosted by best-selling author and entrepreneur Dr. David Powers, where we discuss streams of income, passive income, residual income, and even why there are dinosaurs and zombies in this intro. Fasten your seatbelts and get ready to dive in.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Streams of Income podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you are willing to give me some of your time to listen to either a business lesson or an interview with an amazing entrepreneur. So once again, thank you for listening to the Streams of Income podcast. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in today. Actually, you know what? Let me tell you before I get started, this is going to be another solo podcast. Don't have an interview today, but here's the crazy thing about this. Although the person I'm going to talk about is not here, they're not on the Zoom, I'm not with them in their studio, is somebody that I have followed for a very long time and I want to tell you about. And so I do hope to eventually have them on a podcast with me, or at least get onto their show. I'm talking about Jocko-Willink. So most of you know who this fellow is. Jocko Willink, retired Navy SEAL. If you haven't heard of him, you're probably living under a rock or something. I don't know why you wouldn't have heard of this guy, but I've been following him for a long time. So I thought, until the day comes when he shows up on my podcast, maybe this is the podcast that'll make him say, you know what? Dr. Dave's a pretty cool guy. Even though he's a former Marine, he's a pretty cool guy. I need to get him on my show. So maybe Jocko, I'll tell you what, I'll just speak to you straight. If you hear this, give me a call. I will fly out and I'll come to the studio and we'll do a podcast. It'd be a lot of fun. I'll even let you beat me up on the jiu-jitsu mat because I'm pretty sure that's what would happen if we tried. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the rise of Jocko Willink, the entrepreneur. So if you want to hear, I got my notes here too. I printed all this out just so I wouldn't forget anything. So I'm getting the dates right. Now, a little caveat first though, before I start going down my list here and talking about Jocko as an entrepreneur, this is all gathered from stuff I've read about Jocko. I've read tons of his books. Matter of fact, the Warrior Kid books we've read several times as a family. We started reading them to the older kids, and then as other kids grew up, my youngest, who's 8 right now, is reading them on his own to us. And so it's pretty cool. We've used those as family homeschool books for a very long time. But everything I've gathered here is based on what I know about Jocko, what I've read about him, what I was able to research on the internet a little bit, and also in a recent Sean Ryan podcast, which he appeared on, he actually mentioned a few things there that I didn't even know about him. But I've been following the guy for a long time. So let me tell you how all this started, though. I first heard of Jocko on Tim Ferriss's podcast, and this was back, when was this? Let me look, 2015. Yeah, 2015. No, I'm sorry, 2014. He appeared on the Tim Ferriss show. And I listened to that. I've been following Tim for a very long time as well. And Jocko was on there, and he just sounded like a fun, cool guy. And somebody that could both kill you with his bare hands, but also just mentor you in being a better person. I love that mix. I love being that mix to other people myself. And so heard about him on the podcast. Awesome podcast. Enjoyed it immensely. But then the next year in September of 2015, me and my family, we got to have dinner with Tim Ferriss in Seattle. One of my kids won a cooking contest that Tim had sponsored. And the grand prize that my kid won was that we all got to go out to Seattle to Chef Steps, a company that Tim helps finance. And we got to have it was like a 12-course meal at Chef Steps with Tim Ferriss. We got to spend the entire evening with him. And so talked with him a little bit about the Jocko podcast and about Jocko himself. And he told us, some behind the scenes stuff about conversations they'd had that didn't make the podcast. And it made me like Jocko even more. And so let me just jump into this list here. That's the intro. I mean, that's how I got to know of Jocko, the Tim podcast, and Tim telling us about him. It was pretty amazing. So before, the caveat is, if I'm wrong on any of this, I apologize, especially the dates and things like that. I tried to compile it as best I could. So the Victory MMA and Fitness Studio, as far as I can tell, aside from maybe some stuff he did as a kid. This is Jocko's first entrepreneurial venture. And maybe he mowed yards as a kid, that kind of thing, or maybe he was actually beating people up and, doing professional hits on people as a teenager in high school. I don't know. That's not the kind of thing he can tell about, but, he might have been doing something for money. But as far as I can tell, his first entrepreneurial venture was while he was still in the Navy as a Navy SEAL in 2007. Apparently, the Victory MMA and Fitness Studio was converted from a gym to an MMA school, and mainly focusing on jiu-jitsu. In 2010, Jocko retired from the U.S. Navy after 20 years of service. And I will mention this. If you want to hear about Jocko's early life, and specifically his military service and his time with Task Force Bruiser in Iraq, listen to his appearance on the Sean Ryan Show. It was in 2025, a couple months ago as I record this. An amazing show. I think it was like 3 hours long. Sean does a long form podcast, and it is quite amazing, and every minute is worth it. So listen to Jocko's episode on there. And also, I highly recommend, earlier in the year, I think this was also 2025, listen to the Leif Babin episode. It's pretty cool to hear stories about Jocko from Leif's point of view. If I remember correctly, Leif was his XO while they were at Task Force Bruiser, and it's pretty cool. And Leif has an amazing story of his military career as well. And he is an entrepreneurial partner with Jocko on a lot of his ventures. And so listen to those. If you want to hear about their early lives, their military careers, listen to the Sean Ryan podcast. Pretty amazing. All right, so in 2011, after he retired, he started leadership coaching and public speaking for organizations. Like a lot of high-profile military guys that are good at that kind of thing and fearless. I say fearless because so many people are afraid of public speaking, afraid of training, afraid of things like that they have experiences and lessons they could draw on and certainly do the task. They're afraid to ever get started with it, so they don't. Jocko wasn't afraid of that. I'm not sure of anything he's afraid of. But that was in 2011. In 2012, he co-founded Echelon Front, formalizing extreme ownership as their main product. Echelon Front, Echelon. I've said it both ways. I've heard it both ways. I'm sure Jocko has a certain way that he prefers it, though. But that was 2012. And extreme ownership. That was like when that really came to be the thing. 2 years later, he appeared on the Tim Ferriss Show. I think also in that same year, he was on the Joe Rogan Show. And one of the things that I heard from Tim Ferriss, and also later on with Jocko saying certain things, was that basically every time he appeared on one of these high-profile podcasts, he left with the host, Tim, Joe, whoever, saying, you need to start your own podcast. And so finally, I see, I'm looking down at 2015, a year later after being on those shows, he launched the Jocko podcast, which is pretty cool. Let's see. And so right in the mix there, September 2015 was when we had dinner with Tim Ferriss, and he was telling us all about Jocko. And in 2015 was when his book, Extreme Ownership, co-authored with Leif Babin, came out. And so I don't see on here, no other books popped up before Extreme Ownership. I mean, that's the first one I remember seeing with his name on it. I remember seeing that thing too. Front Table, Barnes & Noble, all the other bookstores. It was sitting right there on the bestseller list, and it's pretty awesome. I mean, that is an amazing accomplishment. First book out of the gate, hitting the bestseller list, and still probably a top seller. Pretty amazing. And then, like I said, that same year launched the Jocko podcast in 2015. It says here, when I was compiling this, 2016, expanded his training company into consulting, workshops, and executive leadership training. And I will say, from everything I've seen, I know Jocko does some keynote speaking. I've seen him pop up here and there doing keynote speaking. And I've also seen some, let's say, lower cost, for middle class folks, some training things that he does. But he does some high dollar, high value corporate consulting and speaking and training and management training and all that kind of stuff. And so it's pretty amazing. And if you go on the website for his company, You can see he's got a lot of trainers, and I mean, it's probably all military guys. I don't think I've ever seen any of the trainers mentioned on his website that weren't military. As far as I know, too, he's even got a couple of former Marines on there, which is pretty cool. Jocko has always spoken highly of the Marine Corps, and because he worked with them a lot. Of course, being in the Navy, not just that, but also with Task Force Bruiser, working a lot with the Marine Corps. And I've never heard Jocko say a bad word about the Marine Corps. Because, if you're in the military, have been in the military, the Marine Corps and the Navy, we've got our own little rivalry. And sometimes we like to fight. But, man, don't say anything about them to us, though, because we'll fight you over it. But we're more than happy to fight each other as well. But 2016, he expanded big time with the corporate stuff. 2017, he published Discipline Equals Freedom. That's a phrase I love. I love that phrase. And in 2018, my favorite book that he has ever published. I mean, I love the leadership stuff, love the extreme ownership, Discipline Equals Freedom. It's amazing stuff. But my favorite book series he has published because of its impact on my family is the Warrior Kid series. And we've got all of them. We've got the entire series in hardback because I wanted them to last. And those books, it's pretty amazing. There's a character in the book, and I won't give away too much because I will tell you this. If you want a leadership book that speaks at the level of your kids, but is also interesting to adults, it teaches heavily on virtues, not just military virtues, but just virtues in general. It uses the military background to enforce it all. But just if you want your kids to learn virtues and just the key components of physical fitness and adversity and determination and all those things, I highly, highly, highly recommend it. And I'll be honest with you, adults, some of y'all just need to read these books. If I like business fables. In other words, it's a business book, but it teaches business concepts through a fictional format. I love books like that. And there are a lot of adult books like that. Matter of fact, I've got a few on the shelf back there about different things. How to sell a company, how to grow a company. In this case, I consider this almost like a fable, the Way of the Warrior Kid series, because it teaches all the same things that Jocko teaches in his adult nonfiction books, but it teaches it to kids or adults at a level we can all understand. And like I said, we bought those books when they first came out. We started buying them, and we bought each one when it came out until we got the full set. And we started with, we would read it at bedtime to the older kids, which when I say older kids, my oldest kid is 21 now. And so we used to read them to them. I've got 5 kids from 21 down to 8. And so each one of my kids has been through the Warrior Kid books, listening to them at one time or another as they've been growing up. And those books have a permanent place in my household collection because I plan on reading them to my grandkids as well. Someday. No grandkids yet. But the Way of the Warrior Kid book series has been quite amazing. And so there's a character in there that is very much like Jocko. I mean, it's a different name in the book, but it's Jocko. And so it's pretty cool. And you just need to go check it out. I don't want to tell you too much because it's give away the whole story, but you need to go check it out. All right, in 2018, that same year, and as far as I know, because of issues with publishing the Warrior Kid book series, Jocko founded Jocko Publishing. And from the stories I've heard, it was mainly because Jocko wanted to publish his books in a more nimble fashion. I mean, he was a Navy SEAL. He doesn't like waiting on the bureaucracy or all the paper pushers to get things going. I mean, if you've published books, you know how fast you can publish, like, say, on Amazon KDP or self-publishing. Used to, self-publishing was a bad word. If you couldn't get a traditional book publisher, you just weren't a hit as an author. Nowadays, it's totally different. Nowadays, people like me and Jocko, we want to publish books immediately. Write it, get it done, publish it, send it out, sell it, help people with it in months, and in weeks if you've got a small book. But if you go traditional publishing, let's say you get an agent and you go HarperCollins or Random House or any of the big publishers, you might be looking at years before a book comes out. Also, there's the matter of the money you make. Royalties from a traditional published book with an agent and all that stuff, tiny. You're going to have to sell a lot of books to make any money. Well, if I self-publish a book on Amazon, which I've got a bunch of books on Amazon, I think I'm up to about 65 books that I've published on Amazon, either for myself or for other people through my publishing company. I can sell a book on Amazon and make $4 or $5 royalties, whereas if it had been a traditional published book, I might be looking at 10 or 12 cents. And so it's pretty amazing. So Jocko got tired of how long it took to publish books, and he founded his own publishing company. Now, I'm seeing that same year was also when he founded Jocko Fuel, and I have partaken of some of his, quite a few of his offerings from Jocko Fuel, the energy drinks, the protein. I think he's into a lot more things now in the supplement line, like nootropics, greens, creatine. I don't know exactly everything that Jocko sells through Jocko Fuel now, but hey, check it out. You can find it all at the Vitamin Shop, which is where I buy a lot of my supplements. Or you can probably get it. Yeah, I know you can get it on Amazon because I've ordered some of his stuff from Amazon before. And so just check out Jocko Fuel. The energy drinks are pretty good. Awesome flavors, things like that. And so that was 2018, Jocko Fuel. He entered the supplement market in a big way and has a brand now that competes with all the big time brands like Ghost and C4 and all those others. And it's pretty amazing. All right. Yet a year later, I don't know when Jocko sleeps. All that training from the Navy SEALs and Hell Week and all that, he's probably learned to only function on 23 minutes of sleep a night. But and he's got an awesome team that's got to be doing this for him too. You don't hear a lot about his team, not because he doesn't want to praise them, but they're too busy working to be in the limelight. I mean, you hear about him and you hear about Leif a lot, and I forget the guy that does the podcast with him. You hear his name a lot too. Apparently not enough. But most of Jocko's team is behind the scenes, just doing the hard work. And so you don't hear about him a lot, but he's got a lot of people that work with him now. 2019, he became a principal owner of Origin USA. And so as far as I know, he got involved with Origin because he wanted to buy a better U.S.-made gi for jiu-jitsu. And so he found these guys that were making them, and if I remember correctly, that's in Maine or Massachusetts. I think it's in Maine. But he found this company that was making these gis using old school methods with the textile mills and everything, and to do it in the U.S. using U.S. sourced materials. And that was a big thing for him. And so I do remember hearing this story about how he bought into the company and found it and all that kind of stuff on one of his podcasts. So just, go on and do a search for Jocko and Origin USA. And it's been, that's probably been 5 or 6 years ago that he did that podcast. I don't remember exactly. I just remember I was listening to it at the gym, and it's a pretty cool story. But he founded Origin USA, and it started out with gis. And as far as I know, they are now making jeans and shoes and coats and stuff as well. I think I will admit I do not own any Origin USA products, but to hear Jocko talk about it, everything he says about it, it is all made in the USA using materials and products also made in the USA. Nothing from outside the USA. I want to say that as explicitly in as many different ways as possible. Jocko says that there is nothing being used there that does not come from the USA. And to hear the story, though, of the origin of Origin, a lot of the machines and even things like that, these guys had rebuilt these machines that they had sourced from rundown factories and abandoned factories and just places all over the Northeast that used to be a textile capital of the world. And they went and found a lot of these things, had to fix it, had to figure out how to make it work, make it run again, and use it now to create Origin products. So pretty amazing. There's a note here on the thing I had put together about COVID. I mean, when COVID hit, Jocko scaled a lot of things. He didn't sit back and quit like a lot of folks did during COVID, and he scaled a lot of things. And, there were a lot of things he couldn't do during COVID. I mean, his gym is in California, and we know how California just went crazier than most places during COVID. And so I'm sure his gym was completely shut down, but he didn't rest. He scaled everything up more. All right, in 2021, we've got here that he published Leadership, Strategy, and Tactics. This was a book that targeted high-level business leadership. And so expanding even more into the corporate training and leadership. And this was a neat one. I didn't know he did this until I watched the episode a few years after he had made the appearance. But the Mayans MC television show. So some of y'all may not be, even those of you that know about Jocko and like him and appreciate him, may not know about this. But I'm a huge Sons of Anarchy fan. And I mean, to be honest with you, I'll admit, not until it hit Netflix. Sometimes I don't like watching the shows when they come out new. I want to wait and watch them when they hit Netflix. And that way I can binge watch it to my heart's content. And so I love the original Sons of Anarchy show, but there was a spinoff about the Mayans, which was a Hispanic motorcycle club that they often ran into conflict with. Spinoff was pretty good, especially, I mean, the ending was amazing. But I was watching an episode, I mean, the whole series had aired, and here I am watching it, and guess who makes an appearance as a bad guy on the show? And this dude's in a jiu-jitsu gym as well. It's Jocko as a villain on the Mayans MC show. And this was in 2022. And I looked to see if I could find out if Jocko had been an actor in anything else. You know what I didn't do? I'm going to do it right now while we're talking. I did not check IMDb. I mean, if you want to know what somebody's been in, where else should I go? I just Googled it and looked at his Wikipedia page. So it's a IMDb Jocko Willink and see what pops up. All right, so it's, let's see, I'm guessing there's going to be some documentary appearances and stuff like that. All right, let's see. Known for Way of the Warrior Kid. Okay, so he's already got a credit on here as a writer for Way of the Warrior Kid, obviously. And I'm going to get to that too if y'all didn't know it's being made into a movie. But let's see. Okay, Mayans MC, he was on one episode. Oh, I didn't realize this. So I've not seen the NCIS Los Angeles series. I've only seen an episode here and there because it's never hit Netflix. So apparently he was on one episode of NCIS Los Angeles, and there's nothing else listed here other than, his books and things like that and some biographical information. All right, so he's made 2 appearances on shows. Once as a villain. I don't know what he did on the NCIS show. Probably on there as a Navy SEAL. But 2 appearances there. And so it's worth watching, though, even if you're not interested in the Mayans MC show itself. If you're a fan of Jocko, you should pull up that episode and just watch the scene. It's pretty cool. It's nice seeing him in that atmosphere. And here's what I really like. I've seen a lot of military guys try to get into acting, and absolutely horrible. It's just horrible. I mean, I don't know if Jocko took acting lessons before this. By this point, he was well-versed in speaking in front of audiences, well-versed in doing the podcast. I mean, for several years, nearly a decade. No, 5 or 6 years at this point. And so he was good, though. He sounded like an actor. If you'd ever seen the Act of Valor movie, the Navy SEAL movie Act of Valor, you know that most of maybe all the military folks in that movie were actual military operators. They weren't professional actors. They were active duty military, including those Navy SEALs, and they did a great job. And Jocko did great. There's some other people, though, I've seen try to make the transition from normal world to acting world, and you kind of just get the impression they should have went to a lot more acting classes before they did it, but not Jocko. He did really good. So that's 2022, but here's the big thing, and I've already alluded to it. 2023, he partners with Chris Pratt. And so apparently they had gotten to know each other. Jocko told some of this story on the Sean Ryan show, but they had gotten to know each other through some MMA experiences, attending fights together, meeting each other that way. And I think Jack Carr, the author of The Terminal List, actually had something to do with them meeting. And mainly because Chris Pratt played the main Navy SEAL, James Reese, in The Terminal List, and him and Jack Carr have become good friends, and so they're all attending UFC events together, and there's where Jocko and Chris Pratt met. And so eventually, though, Chris Pratt, and this is pretty cool because I saw this pop out on Instagram with some of the videos and everything when they announced this partnership. And so if you want to scroll all the way back for that, or maybe you can find it, just get in Google to pull it up for you. There's some really good short videos they've done together to announce their partnership. And so Chris bought into, as far as I know, Chris Pratt now owns part of Jocko Fuel. because he was pitching the drinks for a while, and then he's moved on to his movies and everything else. But when they first announced the partnership, he had bought into that. And it's pretty cool because I love Chris Pratt too. He's a great actor, and I love his transformation story from the fat comedian in Parks and Rec to who he is now, and also a very strong Christian as well, who's not afraid to talk about his faith in public, even though he's taken some fire and some hits for that. And so not only though did he partner with Jocko in Jocko Fuel, but he is playing Uncle Jake in the Way of the Warrior Kid movie. And so Jocko talked a little bit about that on the Sean Ryan show as well, about how difficult that is to get a partnership like that done. It's not just simply a matter of two friends connecting and saying, hey, I'd like for you to play this role for my book. Hey, I'd love to do it. Let's get it done. No, it has to go through years and years of negotiation and agents and managers and producers, and it sounds like a mess. When I hit it big like that in my novel, here's a shameless plug. My novel, The Midwife and the Medic, gets made into a Hallmark or a Lifetime movie. I hope to have a manager or an agent or something handle all that for me, handle the negotiations, handle the contracts, and I'll just sign where I need to, and then show up on the set and watch them film, and then I want to play a bad guy in my movie. I don't want to play any of the main parts or anything because I don't look like that. I'll play biker number 3 or whatever. But they finally got their partnership together, Jocko and Chris Pratt is playing Uncle Jake from the Way of the Warrior Kid movie. And so Jocko actually mentioned on the Sean Ryan show that I think it's in post-production now, so hopefully 2026, you know what? I got my phone handy. Let's just look it up. Matter of fact, I'm still on IMDb from where I was looking up Jocko stuff. All right, so IMDb Warrior Kid. Let's do a search for it and see when that's announced to come out. Here, I'll go ahead and read you the description too. It's going to be PG-13 so far, hour and 46 minutes, so normal movie length. A self-doubting kid who gets bullied learns to find his inner warrior with the help of his uncle, an elite Navy SEAL, who uses his training to guide the youth over the summer. And let's see. Oh, it says completed here, so that means it's out of post-production, but they are not announcing a release date here. Tell you what, though, let's see. Let me try to look up some more information about this. All right, I'm looking while we're on here, though. Yeah, I mean, it says completed. Let's look at the stars, though. So we've got Chris Pratt, obviously playing Uncle Jake. Linda Cardellini playing the mom. Who is that? I should know who that is. She looks familiar. Linda Cardellini has been in Scooby-Doo, an Avengers movie. She's played a bunch of small parts and stuff, so not very recognizable. And a kid named Jude Hill is playing Mark. I do not recognize Jude Hill from anything, and he's been in several small movies, so he does not have an extensive IMDb either. And well, cool. So that's going to be pretty neat. I don't see any other big name stars in this though, other than Chris Pratt. So he's going to be, I mean, he would obviously be headlining that one anyway. But look for that to come out hopefully in the next year or so. And the way these movies come out too, I mean, you may not realize sometimes, I mean, there might be a summer where you'll see 3 or 4 movies come out with one actor, the same actor in all these movies, these big time, big budget movies, and you think, how in the world did they film all 4 of these movies last year? Well, they don't. They probably filmed those 4 movies over the past 5 or 6 years. And they time production schedules, all that kind of stuff to when these movies come out, to when it works best for them. And so, I don't know, maybe they're waiting on a different political climate. Maybe they're waiting on some of the issues with ICE and Minnesota falling apart and burning down to settle before they come out with a movie about virtues and things like that. Although, I mean, I think it'd be a great time, but maybe, I don't understand how the money works and everything. Maybe right now isn't a time for that kind of movie for them to make a lot of money off of it. I don't know. But hopefully in the next year or so that's going to come out. And so we're nearing the end of this podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. If you like Jocko, just a little chronological biography of him as an entrepreneur. Most people just talk about him as a Navy SEAL, and they talk about Task Force Bruiser, and they want to know about him and his friendship with Chris Kyle, who worked under him, things like that. And I just thought I've always admired him. I mean, of course, the Navy SEAL stuff, because I love anything military just because of my own experience. But as an entrepreneur, I'm quite amazed at everything, just the level of what he's been able to do. Not just all the things he's done, but how he has started these things and then scaled them to unimaginable levels. And so, like I said, one of these days I hope to be on his show or get him into my studio here. Wouldn't it be awesome to have him here sitting behind the desk with me? But who knows? That may happen, but if not, I hope you enjoyed this one. And I'll put some links in the show notes to some of his books and of course, Jocko Fuel, things like that. Be sure to check it all out. Amazing stuff. Amazing U.S. made stuff, and so support him in that. All right. Y'all take care. Have an amazing day.